Hey everybody, Rob from Karma Comment Chameleon coming at you with another entitled parent story from you/SaturnGrl. We had one from her a couple days ago, link to that in the description below. You joined the Navy, why are you still here? Let's jump right in. Wait, before I begin, did you guys know that 96% of people that watch these videos aren't subscribed to my channel? Guys, I ask you to subscribe, and I will continue to put out daily content on this channel with the permission of the authors on Reddit. Now back to our story. Thank you so much for the supportive comments and upvotes on my first story, everyone. So I had a reader ask me, what's your second worst story about Linda? I would have to say, my ranked second worst experience with Linda was when I was 19, so only a couple of years before the events of my dad's heart attack. At the time, I was still living at home at my dad's, trying to manage a job and figure out a way to continue schooling. This was when I decided that my efforts were just not enough to get a better education at this rate, so I opted to join the military. My dad was very proud of my decision. He was a former army soldier, and the military was a pretty big thing in my extended family. Despite choosing the US Navy as my branch, my dad said it was great that I wanted to contribute to the family tradition. Linda, surprisingly, also appeared happy at the announcement that I had signed the papers to enlist. I was pretty sure she was only happy because this meant that she would finally be rid of me. Now, for those of you who don't know, when you enlist in the military, you have to attend MEPS, Military Entrance Processing Station, to undergo some basic medical, written, and mental exams to ensure you are healthy, stable, and what kind of jobs you are qualified to select from based on your ASVAB, Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test score. This process at MEPS takes about a full day to undertake, sort of like your first test of prolonged stress. Before you begin, you and others selected enlisted in the local area are rounded up and taken to a hotel to stay the night before heading into the MEPS building first thing in the morning. On the evening for me to leave to undergo my testing at MEPS, I packed up an overnight bag and hopped in my dad's truck as he drove me off to my pickup point at the recruiter's office. He gave me a big hug and again told me that he was proud of what I was doing. The recruiter gave my dad the time that MEPS should be finished and the location so he could pick me up. My dad promised me he would be there early to see my swearing in. I was brimming with my own pride at this point and happy that my dad was being so supportive. All the recruits boarded a bus and I waved from my window to my dad as we headed off into the night. Everyone was pretty anxious with various emotions as we traveled to Denver. I personally felt calm, knowing that no matter what turned out from this testing process at MEPS, my dad was going to be there. The recruits were all given dinner at the hotel, and 2 people to a room as assigned. I went to bed shortly after dinner, while most of the others stayed up all excited, nervous, and chatting away about what they wanted to do in the military. The recruiters woke everyone up at 5 a.m. promptly, got us a quick breakfast, and then walked us over to the MEPS building. I won't go into all the details since it was a very long process of tests, lots and lots of tests, about 16 total hours of nothing but tests. I was dead on my feet when the time finally came to raise my right hand and repeat the swearing in oath. I did perk up some energy though, because when I was marched into the room, I saw my dad sitting among the other parents who came to witness the swearing in. He was true to his word, as always, my dad, my hero. After the swearing in, I hugged my dad and we went to the truck to drive home. My official day to ship off to boot camp was set for a few months away, so we had time to prepare and have some additional quality time before I left on my life adventure. On the way home, my dad kept praising my decision and boosting my morale all the way home. But what stuck the most with me and meant the most was when he said, "No matter where you go or what you may face out there, kiddo, just remember, you will always have a home to return to." I can't describe how happy I was when he said those words. I'd lived through a lot of emotional and mental grief, battled depression, and for a long time I truly felt I had no place in the world because I was always the odd one out, the black sheep, the weird one. The only time I felt welcomed was when I was hanging out with my closest friends, but at this time, many of them had gone to college or also joined the military before me. Being assured that I have someplace to return to gave me a heart filled with hope, and it felt awesome. As we drove home, Dad and I talked about things we should do before I leave. Plans like going fishing, hiking, seeing some movies together, and just having the best time bonding. We pulled into the driveway in high spirits, talking about what to have for dinner and other random things, just having a good time. We both walked upstairs so I could put my overnight bag in my room, and at the top, we were stopped at the sight of Linda pushing my bedroom furniture out of my room. We just stood there in shock. Linda stopped pushing my dresser and looked up, and the second she saw me standing there, she became enraged. "What is she doing back here? She's not supposed to be here!" Linda demanded, looking from me to my dad with anger. I just turned and looked at my dad, my eyes still wide, and now were filled with doubt. My dad could just read my look and told me to go downstairs. I dropped my overnight bag and went downstairs, out the door, and to my car. I left in tears, heading to a local park where my friends and I would normally hang out. But at this time, it was only me, and I just cried. Thoughts of anxiety and doubt raced through my mind. A home to return to? What home? Where can I go? I don't leave for another couple months. What am I supposed to do now? I can't go back. Linda always ruins everything. She's going to make my dad kick me out too. For context, Linda manipulated my dad into kicking my sister out because she was a troubled teen and too rebellious. I was at the park crying for about an hour and a half. The sun had gone down and it was dark now. I was sitting in my car, hungry and depressed. I knew I had to go back, but I really did not want to see Linda. I didn't want to hear Linda. I didn't want to even be aware of Linda. The only reason I did go back was because I wanted to believe in my dad. I could see the lights on in the house, so I assumed Dad and Linda were in the kitchen or eating dinner. I walked quietly into the house and up the stairs. My furniture had been returned to my room, so I went ahead and locked myself in. My dad must have heard me when I flopped on the bed because he knocked on the door only minutes later, asking me to open up. I rolled off the bed and opened it slowly. "Sorry, Dad," I said solemnly, "but I'm really not..." I couldn't finish. Dad just walked up and hugged me. He apologized for what Linda had done and told me about how they argued about what she was doing. Dad told me that Linda assumed that when I left for MEPS, that this meant I was off to boot camp that day. She was basically caught in the act of converting my bedroom into her personal display room for her Barbie collection. Dad said there was no way, and this made Linda lock herself in their room and throw a tantrum. Dad had pushed my furniture back himself and just left Linda to stew. I was actually shocked. For most of these years that he was married to Linda, Dad always took Linda's side when it came to any conflicts that rose up between her and his daughters. When I confronted my dad on this when I was younger, he said, "I am a man and I have to stand by my wife." But this time, the tables were turned, and for once, Dad was taking my side. For once, Linda didn't win. Dad said he stands by the promises he made on the drive home. He will always make sure I have a place to come home to and feel safe, and that he was proud of me. I took a lot of comfort in that, and it helped me feel better. He invited me down for some dinner, and I joined him while Linda sulked in their room for the rest of the night. TLDR, I joined the Navy. Linda assumed my bedroom was forfeit, and my dad is my hero. Sorry for the lack of action and yelling on my part, but before I joined the Navy, I was a quiet, timid, and struggling with anxiety and depression, the perfect person Linda could bully and push around to her whim. The Navy turned me into a hard-ass, confident bitch who didn't take BS from anyone anymore, and Linda was not able to handle the fact that I was able to stand up to her without fear. So, this is what I consider to be my second worst experience with Linda. Just the fact that she was able to break down all my confidence and securities upon my return home like that. It was severely traumatizing to me. I really did think my dad would take her side like he always did and break all his promises to me just to appease his wife. Maybe it was all the pride he had felt for me, or maybe because I was his baby girl. Maybe both reasons, I don't know. But I was happy to know he really did have my back, and he showed nothing but 100% support to me through all of my 14 years of service. Yes, this was a bad experience with Linda, but it was also a strong and bonding moment for my dad and I. Despite all the bad choices and mistakes my dad made while he was married to Linda, I forgave him. When it was most important, he was there for me, more than anyone else in the family. So, this is one that ends on a somewhat wholesome note from my dad and I. As for Linda, that can kiss my rump. Note, in case folks are curious, why didn't your dad try to call you to make sure you were okay? Or why didn't your dad call you to tell you to come home? This was 1999, and cell phones were not as commonplace as they are now. The only cell phone in the family was owned by my dad, and it was only supposed to be used for emergencies. I've gotta say, you/SaturnGrl is very, very lucky to have a dad like that in her life. Just like I'm pretty lucky to have my parents in my life too. Mom, Dad, I love you guys. Thanks for everything you've ever done for me. You guys are awesome, and I really, really appreciate it, even if I haven't been really good at expressing that appreciation in the past. The OP, you/SaturnGrl, actually added on at the end one more note. It says, Note 2, just realized Father's Day is near. Hope this story warms some hearts and encourages others to give thanks to their supportive dads or moms. Give love to all the supportive parents. Once again, this is Rob from Karma Comic Chameleon. If you enjoyed the video, I ask you to subscribe, like, and share the video with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.